Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, we're working under the GX470. I gotta do some axle work, so I have to drain my differential on the front. So while I'm at it, I might as well do the whole fluid change on all three of the differentials and transfer cases on this vehicle. I've got all the fluid, I've got all the tools and the washers and everything needed to do the job. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to do the full flush and refill of all your gear oil. So stay tuned. So in order to do the differential fluid change, we're gonna need some parts. So you're gonna need a bunch of washers. I bought this kit a while back because I needed some of these washers for my other project, but luckily it came with all the washers that I need for the GX470. You're gonna need a few of these crush washers right here. These are a little bit different right here. So you're gonna need 2 of those. I think you need 3 of these aluminum ones. They're just regular aluminum crush washers, and then 1 copper one, I believe. So once we get underneath, we'll figure out exactly what we need when we take them all out, but we have a few extra. Then I also have a bunch of the OEM ones right here. These are the crush ones. That's these guys right here, along with some other ones I have just from all my different things I buy for all the maintenance I do. As far as the fluid I'm using Mobil 1 7590 right there fluid. This is just regular gear oil. It's synthetic. It's made for limited slip, but it's pretty much all you really need for all 3 differentials and transfer cases on the GX470. I ended up buying basically 7 quarts of this because the front's going to use 1.5, the rear is going to use 3.3, and then the transfer case in the middle is also going to use 1.5. So that's a little bit over 6. So I went ahead and bought 7 just to be safe. We're going to have some left over. To fill it, you either have to have a transfer pump to kind of pump it in. What I found best was having some of these bags right here. These are these flexible bags that you could put in any position. I've used this in the past to fill differentials and transmissions. I just kept the bag laying around. I usually just fill it up with this stuff and just use it as a transfer medium to get it over there. It's the same viscosity, so it really doesn't matter if it's AMS oil or whatever was in here. It'll be mixing perfectly fine. So for the sockets and everything, you're gonna need, basically you're gonna need a 24. The 24 will take care of the rear 2 bolts as well as the middle transfer case. All 4 of the bolts use a 24 millimeter. On the front differential, it just uses an Allen key. So it uses basically this one right here, which is a 10 millimeter Allen key for the top and the bottom to take that off. So those are really the only 2 tools you really need to drain the fluid. As far as unbolting everything, if you have an old rusted car, you want to make sure you could take the fill bolt off, which is the top bolt first. If you can't take that one off, then you should not drain it. So that's always kind of a rule of thumb when you're doing these differential fluid swaps and everything. You make sure you could open the fill first, then you open the drain. To access the front differential, you have to take apart the skid plate right here. So there's 2 pieces. There's a front half and a rear half. They're all held on by 12 millimeters. Go ahead and take that off, get it out of the way, set it aside so you can access the actual holes and drains. The drains are right here on this side, and the fill is right up there on this side. So that's pretty easy to get to from under the car, even if you don't have a lift like I do. So here, once we took the cover off, you can see the 10 millimeter drain bolt right here and the fill bolt much easier. So that's the first thing we're gonna be going ahead and draining out here on the front. With that 10 millimeter hex, make sure it's securely into there so you don't strip it, and you don't wanna break it loose. Oh, fuck. So once you do it, you break that loose, so you know it's good, so you'll just leave that there. And we'll go ahead and do the bottom one, take that out, and then just drain the fluid right now into our pan. So doing it right at the bolt is much easier. Go ahead and get your big ass bar in here and just break it loose. Once we do that, then we can put the extension on, put the tub over it, and pull it, let it drain. So I pulled it out, I wiped a little bit of it. You can see all the shavings. This thing's probably never been changed on this car. So that's all the shavings from 120,000 miles worth of driving. So that's why you gotta kind of do this every 50 or 60,000 miles, changing this fluid out just to get all this out of the differential and get new fresh fluid in there. The fluid itself looked pretty good, but again, it's gear oil, so it doesn't really discolor much. So that's why you just want to go ahead and take care of it preventively every 50 or 60,000 miles or even sooner. All right, once we let it drain for a couple minutes, make sure we get everything out. You want to go ahead and put a new copper washer back on, put the plug back in on the bottom here, and just clean up the bottom of this. It's a 48 foot-pound torque for this one, so we want to just go ahead and torque this since we're not going to open this thing again. The top one is a lower torque setting, so on the top one we want to get that one to 29 foot-pounds. So to fill this front differential, I discovered there's like a hole right here that's perfect to basically line a tube up right into there and then fill it from here with a funnel, so that way we don't have to use that flexible bottle or that squeezable bottle. We can just do this and just stand right here and just fill it. So go ahead and change the washer on here with the matching washer. From front one uses the double piece or the two-piece type crush washer. I never really figured out which side goes which way, but it looks like the one I took off has a flat side against the actual housing. So the crush side, which is the raised side, and it looks like a bubble side goes to the bolt side. So you put it in that way when you put it back in. Uses a little short of 1.5 quarts. So I'm gonna go ahead and just fill. I had a partially open bottle. Go ahead and start filling it from here. Just kind of watch it, make sure once you get up to that 1.5 level that you watch it to see if it's coming out. Oop. It took us forever to get up there, but now basically you pour it until it starts dripping out. And then once it starts dripping out, as you can see there, you go ahead and put the seal on. This thing is 29 foot-pounds, so we want to torque that back in. So next side we're gonna end up doing the rear differential right here. So those are those 24s I was talking about earlier. Both of these are the same bolt. We'll go ahead, take these things off. I believe these were 27 foot-pounds, but I'll post the correct number once I edit this video on the screen for you guys to see. We'll go ahead and just undo the top one first to make sure that comes loose, and then drain it from the bottom. So these rear two bolts, you can see all that magnetic part right there on the drain bolt. They both use that same double wall, double bubble type washer right here. So both of them are the exact same one. These are just flattened, and they also have that flat side onto the bolt sides, which is kind of opposite of what we found on the front. The flat side was against the actual differential. We've let it drain. I've cleaned off the bolt. I'm going to end up putting it with the flat side against the actual differential because I think that trusses it more, because I noticed on here when I first got this vehicle, there was like a little stain of just like fluid or some kind of seepage through here from the last time they changed it, where the oil stains there. So maybe it was kind of leaking or seeping out of there. So I'll just go ahead and get this thing in there. It's still dripping a little bit, but I'll just hand spin it in and then go ahead and torque this down to 36 foot-pounds. Torque it down. All right, we'll go ahead and fill it with this pouch right here. I cut the hole almost to the back so I get more flow on it. I've done this before with it small. It just took forever to fill. So you basically just put it right up against there and just start squeezing. Yeah, these squeezable bags make it so much easier to do this. Mobile also offers this, but I think they charge more. I know for sure Quaker State and Valvoline offer it, but I just saved these bags because I knew I was going to use them later for something like this. All right, so I'm on my second bag. So the rear differential is 3.3, so I'm gonna need another one of these after this, so I'm gonna go ahead. All right, so we'll go back, put the bolt back on, torque this thing to the 36 foot-pounds. All right, all cleaned up and wiped down, let it dry. We'll move on to the transfer case, drain that, put a 1.5 in the transfer case, and we're finished with this job. So for the transfer case, here's our drain bolt, here's our fill bolt. Pretty easy on this one. Drain it, 1.5, refill it. All right, so these two are the exact same bolt, no magnet or anything, and they use the aluminum washer, so we'll replace it with 2 of the aluminum washers we have, clean this all up, and then torque it down to 27 foot-pounds. Go ahead and finish that partial bag that we had. This one's a little bit harder to get to as far as room to actually shoot it in there. All right, we got the full bottle now. All right, we'll go ahead, fill the last of it. All right, starting to drip out right now, so we'll go ahead and seal this thing back up. Thanks for joining me all the way to the end of this video on changing the differential fluid and the transfer case fluid. As you can see, it's a pretty simple process, and it's a really routine and common thing that you need to do on your GX470 or pretty much any truck or rear-wheel drive vehicle that has a differential and you have to change that fluid. It's pretty simple. You just got to deal with pouring it from the top bolt and all that. Anyways, if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel to stay on top of all my different DIY videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Remember guys, whether it's working on the car, the house, the garage, or wherever it is, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.